Here are 9 tools I use as a developer on a regular basis. There is this common saying that the tools don't make you, but it's the way you make use of the tools that makes you. So even if I list all these tools at the end of the day, any other tool you give me which does the same thing, I'm still going to be able to use it and do the same job. So the first tool I use regularly is GitHub Copilot. And this is an AI-powered coding assistant which writes code for you like it's reading your mind. But I don't really use it a lot to write code for me, and I mainly use it as a code completion tool. I know a lot of people use GitHub Copilot in more different ways, but I just use it to complete my code. There are more versatile AI tools out there that can help you out to code, and Copilot is not really something I use too much in the coding aspect. The next tool obviously is Visual Studio Code. This is still the king of coding editors if you ask me. There are tons of extensions, a thriving community, and it has a very smooth performance. Recently, I've been dabbling a lot with new AI-powered coding editors like Cursor AI, and I must say I may be switching from Visual Studio Code to Cursor AI very soon, but I still use VS Code, and I definitely use Cursor AI because of their AI that is just directly integrated to the coding editor instead of pairing VS Code and GitHub Copilot. The next tool I use regularly is Figma. Whether you're a front-end developer or a full-stack developer, Figma is a non-negotiable for prototyping and collaborating on UI UX. Sometimes I design my UIs myself, or sometimes my designer on my team sends me a design for me to review, and this makes me always going back to this tool as it is just an amazing free tool for you to use as a developer trying to build something awesome. Next, this is a tool I don't really use, but there is Docker, and a lot of developers use Docker for their apps to work everywhere. So Docker is used for seamless containerization, and this is mainly for your server-side applications. I don't use Docker because I mostly use cloud-based backends for my apps. The next tool I use regularly is Postman, and this is mainly to test and debug your APIs and also collaborate with your teams like a pro. I use this regularly when working on my backends, but as I said, recently I've been working a lot using backend as services, so I don't really use this a lot recently, but this is a tool I regularly use when I want to build my own custom backends. And next we have Tailwind CSS. So Tailwind CSS makes live styling very fast and cleaner. Instead of using regular CSS, I prefer using Tailwind CSS. But this doesn't mean I don't know how to use regular CSS, obviously. As I said, these are just tools. Any tool you give me, I'll make use of it. Another must-have tool I regularly use is Slack. And obviously Slack doesn't help me directly with the coding. It just helps me collaborate with my team easily. We have video calls, we have conferencing calls, we share documents, we share stuff on Slack regularly. So Slack is a must-have if you're a developer. If you're working remotely or doing any kind of remote collaboration, you see that you use Slack or a similar tool. And then obviously we have ChatGPT. I know there is a huge talk on AI in the developers community, but let's be honest, everybody uses ChatGPT right now. Even though it doesn't do all the work, it still does a lot of good stuff for you. I use ChatGPT a whole lot and I advocate for that, but don't rely on it too much for it to do the work for you. The next tool I use is Netlify or sometimes Render. And this one is to deploy my apps or deploy my websites when I'm done building them. And finally, the last tool I use as a developer is Git. And Git has been around forever, and guess what? It's still the backbone of version control. I basically use Git to host all my repositories, save all my projects. I mean, Git is just the number one thing you should be using if you want to appropriately implement version control in your project. So these are all the tools I use as a developer. And you let me know in the comment section what tools you use, if there is anything I've not listed that you actually use. If you have never used any of these tools at all and you want to get into full stack development, then you should probably check out the link in my description for our training program which starts in January 15. See you in the next video.